Hi, this is Roger. Thanks for dropping by. I'm just videoing a few things, really as an experiment. I've had a couple of people mention the fact that my text boxes, depending on what's behind them, can be difficult to read. So the yellow letters, when there's a light background, just don't show up, and they're incredibly difficult to read. Plus you get the letters become confused with cluttered backgrounds as well. Now I've had a look through the software and that's still the best text box. The best one of the lot is the one that I started using at the bottom that's got a blue background with the yellow text on. It's absolutely brilliant, but it only comes halfway across the screen and cannot be adjusted. So with a long plant name it's going to hang out the end and the problem's still there. So what I've done is I've added a border to the text box that's black. So the theory is, on a light background, the black border will make the letters stand out. Yeah? On a dark background, the border will just fade to nothing, but the yellow letters will show up. So I think this has got it covered, but only one way to tell: get a video up with some text on it. Right, I want to start in here. This is one of the indoor oncidium types that I got. This is coming into bloom now. We've got quite a few spikes, 4 I think, yes, and spikes are already branching, so I think this is going to be a pretty good blooming. On this particular cane here there's actually 3 spikes, sorry, pseudo bulb. There's 3 spikes on this one. We've got this one pushing on, this one pushing on, starting to branch, and another one just starting here. So we're going to have 3 spikes on that single bulb. And then up the back here is another spike. There may well be more, but I'm not getting the plant out or anything. That one's branching as well. And then over here we've got another one. So yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 spikes coming on this one. And I think I'm going to get some stakes out. I'm hoping to get away with the short ones and just literally hold the base of the spike. Yeah, but if I let these arch in here, they're going to be hanging out over the door, they're going to be in the way, they'll get knocked when I walk past them, possibly broken. So I'd like to try and get them reasonably upright if I can, so I'll have a go at that later today. It's a big watering day today, I'm afraid. My mounts haven't been done for 3 days, but then we've had 3 miserable days where the fans haven't even come on. The temperature's been down below 21 degrees, and as a consequence the humidity, like now, I've got 18.6 degrees C and 99% humidity. I expect that little gadget's overstating it, and it is, well, that says 92, so we've got very high humidity in here. Such that if you look up there on the glass, there has been total condensation. So we've hit the 100% in here at some point, and I've got condensation all over the glass, and I've got no heat to get rid of it. So it's been difficult, and when I water the mounts I add a lot of humidity into here, and I've got too much at the moment. So I'm going to leave the door open and let some of it go into the lounge. Not that I want it in there, but it's a big airspace in there, it won't do any harm. What else? Oh yes, it's basically Miltonia time. We've had this one, this one's going now, so that one's had its time, and this one I think Lynn gave it to me, and where it is in the pot is wrong. The oldest part of the plant is in the centre, the new part of the plant is right up against the edge of the pot, so that's going to have to be repotted now. It hasn't been done since I got it, so I'm quite happy to do that and set that up in the media I choose, you know, with the plant positioned. I suspect this back bulb can come off, that'll get it farther back, but still needs to stay in a small pot. That's that. I'm not concerned, but I'm interested in the Regnellii as to what this is going to do. I've got the date in my notes that the first bloom opened, which I believe was probably this one, but it would be the first one at the base of one of the spikes. There is a long gap before the next one comes out, and if you think Look how many more there are to go. You know, if there's 4 or 5 days between that and that and that and that, how long is it going to be before the last bud opens? And is this bloom at the base of the spike still going to be with us? So these are either very, very long-lasting blooms, or it's got a very strange blooming habit. Only one way to find out, wait and see, of course. Other things, the potentially virused on Miltonia over here, the spike is pushing on now. So we should get some blooms soon to make the final decision. We've got the thing with the Cattleya, with the Cattleya going down, and potentially that being a direct result of a total dislike to the systemic fungicides, especially the new one that I used for the second treatment. Somebody who's a professor who works in the horticultural trade said that the low-level chemical in that particular one is notorious for actually causing problems. So I'm not absolutely sure, but the systemics have only affected a couple of species Cattleyas adversely. Bearing in mind the whole place got treated. Yeah, I haven't seen other plants going down or losing leaves or anything like that. There is a potential for the problem we had with this sort of thing, if I can get a leaf out, this, where you get this discoloration and cell collapse, this pitting. Yeah? Now, if we go back to when that was appearing and causing me problems, it was cold, because it was pre-summer, and we did do systemic treatments around that time, and new growths are okay. On plants that have that problem, new growths currently are okay, but then they've all just had a double treatment of systemic fungicide. So are they okay? Because this cell collapse is not an immediate thing. It takes quite a long time for it to show. And all the write-ups on it just basically say, you've got your plant too cold, or you've sprayed the plant with freezing cold water, or you've watered it with freezing cold water when the temperatures are high. But it all seems to relate this cell collapse to cold. Now, I did get a couple of nights in the winter, one in particular springs to mind, where I just forgot to turn the heater back on, and it went down to around 8 degrees in here, when the normal minimum was 13. That's quite a considerable drop below, and some plants would have gone below their minimum temperature. But for one night, they'd have to be pretty sensitive to react like that. But that could have been what some of that collapse is. And apparently when that happens and the exposure to the cold was for a very short space of time, it can take 6 to 8 weeks for it to show up. So, you know, still open to debate that, you know, cell collapse and what's causing it. And the trouble is, it could be many things. And worse still, it could be a combination of those things. Probably, you know, I'm not a scientist. I'm not going to be able to dissect plants and find out exactly what's going on, am I? So it's not going to happen. So anyway, that's the Queen Anne. Should get blooms soon. That determines its fate, as far as I'm concerned. The other Miltonia that came from the same place in Madeira, the third one that I bought 3. They were all badly infested with Fusarium, which I've seemed to have sorted that out now. The other one didn't make it, it never recovered. But this one, the Castanier, this has got spikes coming, so we've got a spike at either end, because this has got 2 leads heading in 2 directions. So we should get blooms on that soon. From memory, I think they're a sort of bronzy colour with a purple lip, I think. Anyway, Castanier is a natural hybrid that occurs in the wild. It might even have Reginellii in it. This gets in lots of places, this one. And then over here, buried up near the glass, we've got this other Miltonia. This has got quite a few spikes, 3 spikes on it, and the first bloom over here is just starting to crack. So that's Miltonia Summer Glory, that one. So I could possibly find out what's in that. I doubt if that would be difficult to find out. It's traceable, I suspect. Yeah, so it's definitely the Miltonia time. If you think about it, we've got Reginelli's in full flood. This one's just going, but has been now. So that's 2, 3, 4, 5. And I think that is actually all of my Miltonias. I'm just thinking, are there any more lurking anywhere? I think that's all 5 of them that I've got left. I did have more. Some have gone walkies. Some were in a state of rescue and they stayed in that state too long. And I'm not prepared to put up with plants like that anymore. You know, if you don't grow, then there's no point in having you. Simple as that. Unless it's special, in which case I might let it hang on a bit longer. Trouble is, they still end up normally going. Anyway, the other thing I've just spotted. Now, I didn't even know there was a bud on here because I've been using the sprayer quite a bit. This one's escaped me. But tucked in there on that mount is my Nocturnum. I say my because, strictly speaking, it doesn't belong to me anymore. That's one of the plants to go. And the new cane on it's pushing on nicely. That's pushing upwards. It will arch over probably. But I have noticed the older canes, these do have sequential buds. Now, these are the ones with the quite bad light damage. It's 2 things. It's light damage, which always is relatively obvious when it's the top couple of leaves and not the rest of them, and it's a cane that sticks upwards. So this got hit by light. It also then got minor infections, which have since been treated and are now okay. These leaves have not changed colour, shape or form for a long time. But the bud just sits there looking dead. And then eventually you just see a little bit of green, and that means there's another bud going to come out. I think this one's already had 3. And let's get this out of the way. Over here, the cane that sticks out this side, this has got a bud pushing. Which makes me think now, this may be the catalyst, the trigger, that says, I need to get these plants off to people. We've already missed the blooms on the Linguelli, which that's supposed to go to Insa. So those blooms should have been his to see in his grow room, not mine. And this one's doing the same. This one's just starting to get green on it. That one's got a bud starting, and this is what I wanted to show you. Over here, that one's managed to sneak a bud out. It's the fact that if you look at the start of the cane, the bud came out at an angle. So it was between 2 leaves, and I missed the flipping thing. But it has a bud, and it is opening, and it's not going to get touched. I'm not touching the plant. It's staying exactly where it is. I'll water it in situ with the sprayer, because this is a notorious self-pollinator. And so far, the longest bloom I've ever managed to get to hang in there is 2.5 days, after which it pollinated itself and collapsed. And it collapses fast when it does that. And I'm sure knocking it about aids and abets it in its dirty deed. Anyway, it's a bloom, and they are so attractive when they open fully. But several of the blooms I've had have not even managed to open before they've got pollinated. So I'm not going to touch it. I'm just going to leave it and see if I can actually get it to fully open, at which point I might try and get it out and film it. But yeah, I really do need to get these plants off to people. They've been hanging around an awful long time. And I've got no excuse with the weather anymore. Do you know what's holding me up? It's the sheer size and effort of the task. Now, if I had a couple of plants to send to one person, I'm sure it would have been done a long time. Mind you, I couldn't have done it back in the heat wave, could I? That would have been a bit silly. But the heat's gone now. It may come back later, but I had to send the imposter back, the one that was masquerading as Victoria Regina. That's been posted off now, and after I'd taken it round to the post office, I thought that wasn't that difficult to wrap up one plant and, you know, sellotape a box closed, put a label on it and get it off. It wasn't that big a deal, but now multiply that by, I think I've got 6 or 7 people to send plants to. It's my own fault, I took the task on. But that's finding the right size box for what's got to go in it, you know, sorting out a postage label with the address and everything on, writing a letter to go inside. I don't just send plants, I always put a letter in saying about what's in the box and, you know, whether something needs repotting relatively quickly because the media's going. I always put a letter in. Well, all that's got to be done. It's not a simple task. And I think that's what's stopping me doing it. It's the effort, you know, the just getting it done. And when I get a task that's big like that I'm not looking forward to, the easy option is to not start it. And I think that's what's been going on in my mind. So I might have to split the task down. You know, I mean, I've got one big box to do that does have rather a lot of plants in. Yeah, cheers. But if I got that box done, that's most of the hard work done. There's quite a few, in fact, most of the rest have only got one plant. And that's just a matter of finding the right size box, isn't it? You know, that's not that difficult. You know, if you think like these two over here are both going, the Rhyncho Stylus and the Bangkok Sunset, those two are both going. They don't need a big box. They need a box just to accommodate them. And here we go again, look, I've only just noticed that. This is what comes of using the flipping sprayer. You don't keep your eye on things. Will you let go? Thank you. This is not a nice looking plant. I think only one person bid on it. Well, it's either growing a spike or a new root. It could do with some new roots, it really could. This hasn't grown a root for a very, very long time. I know why. It's because the roots don't stay hydrated enough. It's one of those awkward things that it's a drinker, yeah? But if the roots stay wet, they'll rot. There's just one of those. It needs the fast wet dry cycle, but it also needs it frequently to keep it fully hydrated and fed. It's got a new leaf starting, I think, and something growing out of there. Well, it needs going in the post, doesn't it? Before that gets too big and gets damaged in the box, or coming out of the box, or going in the box. And the Bangkok Sunset has suddenly done a huge mass of root growth. So that now needs a bigger box than if I'd got on with it earlier. But you see what I mean, the task is quite large. But it will clear some space. There's several mounts are going. One of which is quite a large one. So I think there's 2 mounts to go, I think. Maybe 3. And then pots and bare root things and stuff, you know. There's a little one of the mounted Phalaenopsis to go. There's Sidera japonica that's now Phalaenopsis, that's to go. So I need to get on with it, and there's quite a lot of people who are just getting one plant. That's not that difficult to organise. I need a kick up the backside. The trouble is when you live on your own, there's nobody to do it for you, and I can't get round to it, basically. That ain't happening. Anyway, I'll have put some text boxes up with various backgrounds. So I just want to come over here because I want to, I know this is going to sound daft, but I want to film some black. And then I can put a text box up against the black, that's the darkest background we're ever going to get, isn't it? So the writing should show up on there, the black border will disappear, or virtually disappear, and the yellow should really stand out. And then, you know, when there's a very, very light background like that, the black border should stand out, because the yellow gets a bit cluttered with the background. So hopefully there's enough text boxes in there to see whether it works or not. And yeah, I've got an experiment going on in the background, and I'm doing a little film clip every 24 hours. and then gradually building the number of clips up to make a single video. But you're not going to know what it is till it's finished, which may be tomorrow. So we'll see how it goes. But there's 24 hours needed between each little clip. Yeah? So, and until the project's finished, I won't be posting the video. So that may go up tomorrow. I may need another day. We shall see. But because this weather's gone now, I've got a bit of a problem. We're coming round to redo the SB plant invigorator and bug killer. You know, if I'm going to do this, it's got to be done. Well, things like the Tolumnias got dunked. They got totally soaked, mount and all. They need that done again. Yeah? In cooler temperatures, this could be a problem. So, but I can see blue sky out there today because it's early at the moment. So maybe we'll get some sunshine back. Do you know, I've got a feeling. Is that a spike starting? Could be. I mean, this was bought in bloom. There's no sign. I mean, the new growths are pushing up quite nicely now. They're coming up through the gaps. But look, even on this plant, I can't remember whether that was on it when I got it or not. But this hasn't been exposed to bright light, that's for sure. Yeah? So, and I'm not sure that even got sprayed with the systemic because it showed no signs of needing it, you know. So, anyway, I shall leave it at that, and hopefully the text box is a lot more easier to read in all circumstances now. So, all right, see you next time. There's something niggling me left over from yesterday's Sunday chat that I needed to say, and I can't recall it at the moment. Well, if I do recall what it is, I'll stick it up as a text box. That'll be fun. And yeah, see you next time. Thanks for dropping by.